All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're going to dive into some really practical, proven ways to catch honeybee swarms. How to turn what feels like a big loss for a beekeeper into a pretty awesome opportunity. So, if you're a beekeeper, you've probably seen this. And yeah, it's frustrating. That big cloud of your best bees with a queen in the middle just up and leaving the hive. I mean, it's not just that you're losing bees, it's a massive blow to your workforce and, of course, your honey harvest for the year. Okay, so to fix this, that's the real question, right? How do you manage this instinct? The goal isn't to stop them from swarming. You can't, really. It's to catch it in the act, to turn that natural departure into something amazing, a brand new, totally free colony for your bee yard. All right, let's talk about your first line of defense. And trust me, these are so simple, but they really work. You can do all of this right in your own apiary, no special or expensive equipment needed. Seriously, it doesn't get much easier than this. You take an empty hive box, that's your bait hive, and the magic ingredient, an old, dark frame of beeswax. See, the scout bees that are looking for a new place, they are powerfully drawn to that smell of old wax. To them, it smells like a perfect move-in ready home. So here are the steps, and look how simple this is. You're basically just putting out a welcome home mat for a swarm. The only thing you really have to do is check for wax moths every now and then, because they can scare the bees away. It's just a perfect example of a low-effort, super high-reward trick of the trade. Okay, so that old frame is a fantastic start. But what if we could make that bait hive even more tempting? We can. We can basically crank up the volume on that come on in signal by using scents that bees are just hardwired to love. And what's so cool here is how easy these things are to get. A little bit of lemongrass oil. It smells almost exactly like the bee's own pheromone that says, hey, this is a good home. Mint oil works great too. And get this, a classic trick from Russian beekeepers is just to cut a lemon in half and rub it right on the frames. How simple is that? Okay, here's a fantastic little pro tip for you. If you want that scent to last longer, mix a few drops of the essential oil with some petroleum jelly. Then just smear it on the top bars. It acts like a slow-release air freshener for bees, basically. It just keeps that vacancy sign lit for way longer, which definitely ups your chances. All right, so we've covered the simple scents. Now let's level up our game a bit. We're going to look at some commercial products and talk about the strategy of setting traps outside your own apiary. So you've got a couple of really powerful choices here. You can go with the commercial lures. They're professionally made, designed to be super effective. Or there's this really clever old school beekeeper's trick. You take an old queen who's not productive anymore and preserve her in alcohol. What you get is this super potent, totally natural queen pheromone you can just spray inside the bait hive. It's a great way to use something you'd otherwise just discard. This is where things get really interesting. We're moving from just passively waiting to actively, hunting for bees. A swarm trap is just a bait hive, but the key is you put it outside your bee yard. The idea here isn't just to catch your own bees if they decide to leave, but to snag any wild swarms that are just passing through. So where do you put these traps? Well, you have to think like a scout bee. They're looking for places that are easy to spot and feel safe. So think about putting your traps along the edge of a forest, up high on a post, maybe even way up on a big tree branch. These are like the prime real estate spots that a scout bee is going to check out first. Okay, so we've got the tools, we've got the strategies, but none of it matters if you don't get one thing right, and that's the timing. I really can't stress this enough. You could have the world's greatest bait hive, the most amazing lure, but if you put it out too late, it's totally useless. The entire game is about getting ahead of the season. You've basically got one main shot at this. That's the prime swarm season in your local area. You know, that time in the spring when everything's buzzing and the colonies are just exploding in size and want to split. Your traps have to be out there, ready and waiting before that window even cracks open. So you see the key here. This is all about being proactive, not reactive. Preparation is absolutely everything. When you get your bait hives and traps set up before the season really gets going, you're not reacting to a problem anymore. You're executing a plan to capture an opportunity. So now that you know the tools, the real question is, are you ready for swarm season? Because thinking ahead and using these simple but really effective techniques, that's what lets you work with your bees' instincts instead of fighting them. And that's how you turn what nature does anyway into a huge win for you, the beekeeper.